prescribing how, who and how the decision to bring civilians to a court-martial is made. Therefore, when they are brought at the whims of people we do not know, authorities not defined, it becomes discriminatory. We want the court to answer whether indeed this is discriminatory, as we state from the bar. My colleagues have already argued that the fact that the offenses for which they are being tried are not defined is again something the Constitution abhors. And I've already said constitutions exist to limit exercise of power. So if exercise of power is not limited by the Constitution, then it is unconstitutional. And the court, the Constitutional Court needs to answer that question. I also want to add one more article of the Constitution, that Article 79 of this Constitution of Uganda, which mandates Parliament to make laws. It defines the functions of Parliament, and it says that subject to the provisions of this Constitution, Parliament shall have power to make laws on any matter for the peace, order, development, and good governance of Uganda. Except as provided in this Constitution, no person or body other than Parliament shall have the power to make provisions having the force of law in Uganda, except under authority conferred by an act of Parliament. And then finally, Parliament shall protect this Constitution and promote democratic governance. So the exercise of power to cause civilians to come to a general court-martial are not defined in any law, and therefore they are unconstitutional and against Article 79. And we are asking you, in framing that question, whether we can have exercise of power without, or discretion without limit is unconstitutional. Add Article 79 to that request. Finally, everybody, including yourselves, is obliged under the Constitution of Uganda to obey it. So we are urging you to stand up for the Constitution and to refer these questions to the Constitutional Court so that we can have finality. Maybe somebody may argue that because others have taken the questions to the court, to the Constitutional Court, they have already been answered. I want this General Court-Martial to note, we have raised questions that have not been raised before. There are some that may be similar to those that have been raised earlier. Questions of discrimination, questions of a lawyer who is part of the team being arrested and detained and therefore not available, questions of fair process. There are quite a number of questions that have not been asked before. Also, the fact that there is nothing in the Constitution that gives the UPDF judicial authority over civilians. And therefore, any act of Parliament conferring judicial authority on civilians to the General Court-Martial is unconstitutional. So it's a question the court will have to determine, to declare the UPDF Act unconstitutional to the extent that it confers judicial authority on civilians to the UPDF. And Mr. Chairman, when you are reading your ruling, you actually found that it was not, you alluded that it was not unconstitutional. The authority to interpret the Constitution is exclusively to the Court of Appeal, sitting as a constitutional court. So it will be useful even to you and the General Court Martial to hear an authoritative interpretation from the Constitutional Court as to whether you indeed can try any civilian in Uganda. The issue of extradition from Kenya, not extrajudicial rendition, not extradition. Extradition connotes a court process where orders are made. In this case, there was no court order. We urge that those issues are more than enough, and I'm asked by my colleagues that since we have exhausted, we end it here to give the prosecutor the chance to make a rejoinder.
Mr. Chairman, it is my humble request that this honorable tribunal benchmarks with the other courts allow us the permission to treat it as a court. Indeed, the way we are treated, we are right to say that we and our clients are being persecuted. Our clients are not being prosecuted, but rather persecuted. You soldiers out there are determining who to lead us, where to sit, who speak what. Indeed, we are not grateful with that kind of treatment. This is not what is done in the courts of judicature. Something must be done, Mr. Chairman. As you lead by example, that example must be seen. That is the motto. By example, we lead. That is the UPDF motto. But sincerely, there is nothing to emulate from the conduct of soldiers out there, treating us as if we are criminals, as if we are convicts. We are not. We are good people, and we love you guys. We love you, soldiers. Don't treat us like that. Tukoye. Thank you.
Yes, nkulamusizaako nnyo oli ku Yugi Updates TV kosinzira okubanga otuwuliriza webale nnyo kwekumira ku mayengo gano gw'atana kubanga otuyungako kiri wansi w'ekigambo subscribe kikoneko ojja kubanga otweyungako ddala bulungi nnyo n'olw'ebigambo ebyo biwulidde nkuwadde obutambi bubiri nga kuliko Matha mukyala Lawyer Matha okuva eri mu Kenya saako ne Council Nalukoola gwe mukwano gwange. Matha owe Kenya lawyer abadde agezaako okubanga annyonnyola abalamuzi ng'ababuuza nga basoya kajojijoji w'ebibuuzo nga ansa ntono nga tebatamwatama butamitwami abadde ababuuza ayagala kumanya bamubuulire kuva ddi nga ba civilian baleetebwa mu military court bamubuulire butya bwe kiyinzika ate n'obusobozi bwakyo bwe kiyinzikikamu. Takumyoko n'abagamba nti nno n'ekirala twagala mutubuulire omuntu mumuteeka mutya mu military court kyokka nga n'abaamuwamba mugamba temubamanyiiko mayitire tebamanyikiddwa tebategeerekese ate ne musiga nga mukyamuwozesa mu military court kitegeeza ki? Lawyer Nalukoola ye avuddeyo n'alaga okwennyamiraako obutali bwenkanya mu bitongole bino ebikuumaddembe naddala wano ku kkooti okwosa eryanyi eriyitiridde nga bagezaako okubanga babasiggaliza nga babakuba enkokola obutayingira kkooti. Abagambye ffe bonna tetuli batujju, tuli ba looya. Ate bwe tubeera ba looya kitegeeza tetuzze kukola n'obulumbaganyi bonna bonna. Sisa lwaki mutuyisa bwe muto? Sisa lwaki mutuyisa ng'abatujju? Lwaki mutukugira? Ki kye mukweka? Lwaki ba lawyer mubayisa mu ngeri etasaanidde? Bw'atyo Council Nalukoola ye waavuddeyo ne concern ye ng'anenya abalamuzi ba kkooti eno eya military court egenda mu maaso n'okukozesa omusango gwa Dr. Kiriza Besigye gwe mukwano gwange ali eyo ampuliriza. Birungi si birungi nga woobirabye ensonga zikyali nyenkandaggo musango gukyeyongerayo ya Dr. Besigye mu mwenna abawagizi be mwongereeko musabira naye baganda bange si birungi gwampuliriza. Kutegeeza nti obadde ku Yugi Updates TV nga kusinziza okuba nga otuwuliriza era tovaako nnyo bale kwekumira ku mayengo gano. Gwagala otweyungako kirira wansi w'ekigambo subscribe kikooneko ojja kuba osobola bulungi nnyo otuyungirako ddala bulungi. Mbaagala nnyo mweraba.